Hi, this is Jim Gibson. Thank you for joining me today on this channel. Really appreciate it. And I want to talk today about some techniques, some tools, things like that that you could use in the construction industry, but more particularly that could be used in doing quotes and making decisions when it comes to your business of installing voice and data networks, the cabling. How to figure it out, how to know how to do it right, and how to do it the most cost-effective way, the fastest way possible. But one of the things I want to talk about is a particular tool, and it's this tool here. And we're going to talk about that. And it is what they call a distance measurer. I didn't know measurer was even a word, but it's from Bosch. And I've had it for years, and it's fantastic. Now, before we go down that road, let me explain a little bit about my experience and my background and stuff like that. I've been involved in IT since 1980, and actually a little bit before that, but I've done everything in IT. And one of my specialties now is cybersecurity. I do a lot of consulting in cybersecurities and stuff like that. But for years, I ran a company called Nova Voice and Data Systems. And about 5 years ago, I sold my database to a competitor. So I don't have employees anymore. Still do consulting on construction of networks and how to design them and things like that. But needless to say, I've been doing this my whole life. And I've done over 6,000 installations, designed networks, voice and data networks, all sorts of things all over the country in every single state multiple times. So today, though, I want to talk to you about how to, or one of the tools that are really helpful to me. It's not necessary, but really helpful, that really helped me out. And that was this little device I have here. It runs on batteries that are not rechargeable. It's kind of heavy duty, though. It has that thick plastic around it and all. And it's called a distance measurer. Now, it's not necessary that you have this, okay? Because when I walk through a building, I learned many years ago in the military, in the Marine Corps, when I was doing land navigation, that I had to know how far my stride was from heel to heel. And so I know walking through a building how big the building is. Now, of course, if you have floor plans, you can also figure that out too if you're going from scratch. But a lot of times, when you're going to do quotes and things like that, you're going to have to know, you're going to have to walk through the building and you're going to have to figure out, the distance on hallways and things like that, the cable route that it's going to be taken. Now, I do have some videos on how to bid cabling installation, how to bid a network installation and things like that will really help you in that area if you're a commercial cabler and you want to learn that. So as I'm walking through a building, I'm going heel to heel, and I know that from my one heel to the next heel as I'm walking is 2 feet. And so for every step I take, when I'm all done, I just times it by 2, and I know that's how long it is. Now, for you people who are not part of the imperial system, you have to figure it out yourself. But this is just a method that I use that's worked for me for many years, and I've taught my salespeople how to do this. So when they give a quote to a customer on how much cable is going to be needed for an installation, they actually are going to be pretty accurate on our costs and benefits to the customer. But the reason I have this has nothing to do with walking through an office area. Now, just backtrack a little bit here. When you walk through an office area, I know a lot of people in the industry, they look up, they see the ceiling tiles, they count the ceiling tiles and everything else. I don't do that because a lot of times I'm talking to the customer and I don't want to be looking up and counting the ceiling tiles. That doesn't work for me. But what works for me is just walking. So I know my stride is 2 feet. From heel to heel. My normal stride, when I'm just walking straight, level ground, it's 2 feet from heel to heel. And it's pretty interesting because I can figure that out. But the reason I have this is 2 reasons. The primary reason for this laser distance measurer that I have is for warehouses. So it has a flat bottom here. So I lay this on the floor, and then I turn on the laser, and you don't want to look in, obviously, this laser beam. I can actually see it when I push the button. So I'm going to push the button here. I'm going to put it on my desk, and I'm going to push the button, and I'm going to start it. It takes a second, and that's it. And then I have the footage. And from the top of my desk, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can get it correct there. 6 foot, 5.5 inches exact. I mean, this thing is really precise. Now, why do you need this? Warehouses. When you go into a warehouse, sometimes it's 40 foot in the air, sometimes it's 20 foot in the air, sometimes it's 25. And if you got to cable a warehouse, you got to know how high that warehouse ceiling is. And some people, some owners, some customers don't know that. They don't know how high it is to the top of the ceiling there, or to the top of the, where the roof is. But you have to be able to know that primarily because you have to order a scissor lift that can reach that distance. And you don't want to get a scissor lift that's too big or too small or things like that. They come in different sizes. We usually rent them in the past, and so we could go around the warehouse with the scissor lift and pull cable from one end of the warehouse to the other. Now, of course, when we're talking about linear distances in the warehouse, I'm still using my 2 foot, walking. So I know how big the warehouse is, and I'm usually walking the path that I plan to do the cable run on. Now, you don't have to be precise in cabling. This is not you just don't have to do it. It's impossible to be that precise anyway, because remember, each drop, and let me tell you what a drop is, because some people may not be aware of that, but each drop is a cable used in computer cabling, or telephone cabling. These days it's all computer cabling if you're using voice over IP. So it's going to go out to the wall, to where the wall is up in the ceiling, and then it's going to drop down, and that's where you get drops from. Now, we have a form that the salesman used to fill out, how many drops, what type of termination it's going to be, all sorts of things that helps you figure out the exact price that you can charge a customer, and also what exactly is your cost. And so this is a fantastic way to do it. When you're talking about linear distances, use your walking. Every time you walk, and check your own distance. One of the ways that you can do this is you go outside and you pour a little bit of water on the ground, a puddle, you step through it, and then as you step through it, you can actually see your distances from heel to heel. So you step through the puddle, then you go onto the dry cement or dry concrete. And when you go into the dry concrete, then you can measure it, literally measure it with a ruler to see what it is from heel to heel. And so that could give you that measurement. But remember, you still have to add the footage 8 foot up to the ceiling. Most of the times you always run a little extra cable, and then it goes out to the data room and it drops down. Sometimes it moves along and then drops, so you're going to have some sort of movement there. You should always put in extra cable, never cut the cable short. So you do all that, and you can figure out exactly how much cable you're going to need just by walking through the building, and you're going to find out how tall the ceilings are by using one of these. Now, what's interesting too with this, this thing is precise. This is part of, measure twice, cut once. You could use this in cutting lumber. It's that precise. I've seen it go down to the 16th of an inch. You don't have to use this exact same model. There's other models out there. This thing is kind of old to talk to you about it anyway. It's not the newest out there, but that's okay. What is it? It says on the back. I did not see that before. It says February 2010. So I've had this probably about that time I bought it. What's nice too is once in a while when you have a customer that thinks that they know more than you do about cabling a building, And some of them are smart. Okay, I'm not going to laugh at them or put them down or anything else. They're your customers. You treat them with respect. But when I use this, they have a little more confidence in my quote. So I might know exactly the distance from the beginning of the building to the warehouse door, okay? But I turn around and I use this. So I already know the distance, but I'm proving that I know the distance from this. So there's a lot more involved in knowing how many cables you need and how long the cable is, how long it should be, things like that. So catch that up on my other videos. This one is just going to talk about this tool. So it's Tool Tuesday, Tuesday's tools. I'm going to talk about some other tools that could help you in this industry in cabling and coming up with a good quote, a precise quote, things like that, that could actually help you do better when you're putting out your quotes. Hopefully show you exactly what your expenses are going to be so you can quote a fair quote to the customer and you can explain it, how you got the footage, you can explain what you do and everything else. Some people don't like that, walking down the hallway, and I know how long it is by walking down the hallway, so they count the ceiling tiles to be precise. You don't have to be that precise when it comes to quoting a cabling job. What we used to do is we realized the average pull, and pull is average drop, the average pull, you're pulling cable. It's also called a pull. The average pull is, for us, was under 100 feet. So you can go up to 100 meters, which is a little more than 300 feet, which is a little more than 300 feet. But you don't want to stretch it that far. So I always just quoted like, yeah, I can look at a building and they want so many quotes, so many drops. I can look at that building and I can determine that that the size of the building is your normal office building, things like that. And so I'm going to just figure out that it's 100 feet to each outlet and all the way back to the data room. So that's one way to do it. But you can't do that for warehouses because some, you're doing all your quotes in an office building that may have, 8, 10 feet to the ceiling. But at the same time, when you hit the warehouse, it shoots up. And then it goes a distance, and it may be that they want to cable a office spot in the middle of the warehouse, or off to the right, or off to the left. So that's going to have to be bid separately. But this little device, and this is a great device, distance measurer, very precise. I'm really surprised. I'm sure the one's out today, and I'll make some suggestions down in the edit, or not the edit, what is it called? Down in the description. So you'll see some stuff that I recommend. It's probably like this. Not all of them go the distance, okay? So there's some that, will only go 20 feet or something like that. You don't want something like that. You want something that goes at least 100 feet, I would say. At least 50 feet, because I don't think any buildings are more than 50 feet high, the ceiling. But you're going to want something that you don't max out the distance. So because you got to know how high that ceiling is, and you got to account for going up into the warehouse from an office area, usually across the top, and then down. So you're going to have to account for all that when it comes to cable height. It's a great device. It's really helped me secure a lot of deals, get a lot of signatures, a lot of confidence in the customer when they see this. They're impressed sometimes they're not, they don't care. But other times it just really helps when it comes to securing that sale. What also it's nice with is when you're sending out a salesman to do some quotes. And something, if you're training a salesman, you need to go with that person. Male, female, I say salesman, I cover both with that. But when you're doing that with a salesperson, let's say, go help them. Help them 3 or 4 times, maybe even more. Walk them through how to figure out what the cost time-wise parts-wise, things like that, that's going to cost to put in that network. And you can give them one of these, you can send it with them, and let them rely on the distances based on this distance measurer. Didn't think measurer was a word. Distant measure, but I don't know about measurer. I don't know. You can make your comments if I'm wrong on that. But at any rate, something like this gives them more confidence when they're writing out a quote. And again, we always had a form. They gave a salesperson, they could fill it out. And it has a lot of interesting things on that form, like, location, billing. Sometimes you're doing a location, like we did, a lot of Petcos in the country. So, you need the location installation, where it's going to take place, and then you need to know who's going to pay the bill. That's important things. Next, you got to know things like what type of ceiling is up there. Is it a plenum rated ceiling? And I have a whole video on plenum rated ceilings where I actually show you a non-plenum ceiling and what the difference is between a plenum rated and a non-plenum. And that's important because you're going to have to use different cables. You have to use plenum rated cable, which is sometimes twice as expensive as a non-plenum type of cable. And you got to know the code too in the area concerning plenum rated ceilings. And again, I got a video on this, talks about it in detail. So you have other things, second floor, does this building have 2 floors? Does it have multiple floors? Things like that. So what you'll find out is, you got a form on there. Do the RJ45 jacks have to be different colors? How many jacks at each outlet? Because that's going to determine how many cables you pull to that outlet. Any peculiarities with the walls? Are the walls just drywall walls? Or are we dealing with concrete walls? There's a lot of little things you need to know, but this tool will help you secure quotes. It gives confidence to the customer that you're actually measuring, even though I don't think you have to, be honest with you. If it's just an office, you don't need to do that. It helps with salesmen who may not be as talented to know the distance that they're walking, and it's kind of awkward counting tiles, I just never did that. But at the same time, it's fantastic. You don't have to guess when it comes to cabling warehouses. This has a lot of features to it, by the way. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do something else with it so you can see all the features. But I just think this is fantastic. I can take it and I can measure to the wall. Has a little, you can see it. So from my desk to the wall, it's 7 foot 6 inches and 1/8 inch. So that's what it does. Now, I've never used it in a carpentry type of setting, but man, it's precise enough that at least you could know roughly how long it is from one place to another. At any rate, it helps you secure contracts and proposals, things like that. There's a lot more involved in quoting, and maybe I'll do another video on quoting, but I do have some out there now that I did a couple years ago that will help you in your business. And remember that there's other things too, like having a form, having a standardization. So when you're sending out your salesman or even a technician to do a quote, they can ask all the questions. Not only ask all the questions, they could be, discover what needs to be discovered. It's really annoying, to send out technicians or go out myself, and I have a truck full of 1,000-foot boxes only to find out that I have the non-plenum rated, and it's a plenum ceiling. Jeez. What a waste of time that could be. So you got to have a form. You got to ask all the questions you need asked, and do it right. Because I just hate to go out there and put in white jacks and only find out that the data people wanted red jacks or blue jacks. or they wanted two pulls, pull 1 and pull 2, and they wanted them separated at the patch panel, 2 different patch panels. And they want the jacks on the wall to be red or blue, or how they want them labeled. Now, we can go through that labeling thing, okay, which can become a mess, an absolute mess. Sometimes data people, I should say IT people in a IT world, the Microsoft systems engineers, want things done a certain way, and only to discover that if you do it that way, it's going to increase your labor, double your labor, triple your labor that way to label each jack, in a certain area. And it's a killer, a profit killer, and it doesn't really mean anything, because 2 months later, when they ask you to put the jack between jack 1 and jack 2, you got to put another one. What are you going to call that? Because you put in 10 jacks, you're going to call it A, or 1A, or 1B, or 1.2. It's just not the way to do it. And a lot of data people don't cable buildings, so they don't know these things. They're just making assumptions, and a lot of people on the internet are also making assumptions on how you should do this. So, hey, listen, I don't want to make this any longer. This is a great idea. I'll put some suggestions down in the description. Thank you for watching. I have other tools that we're going to talk about that can help you. And, of course, this can help in other industries, too. Other construction industries, things like that, it could really help. So you should have one of these. If you're a commercial contract cabler, low voltage cable, or even electrician, you should have one of these to do your estimates with. They really work great. And plus, they're a lot of fun. You can push red dots all over the wall and the ceiling. I don't know. Can you see it back there? I don't know if you can see it back there. Yeah, there you go. See? So you can see it. It becomes a pointer. If you really want to have a pointer, worst comes to worst, you're doing a presentation, you got yourself a pointer. If you can't find the right pointer, it's kind of cool, and it impresses customers. Thank you for watching today. Look at some of my other videos. I'm going to start doing more and more on tools and techniques when it comes to cabling, and thank you for joining me today. Very much appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Please subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.